Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. And this is a paid request for Shawn. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, PayPal is usually the best bet, or join my Patreon. Links are in the info box over there or over there, wherever the info box is on this day of YouTube. If you hear a bit of a louder wind noise, I do have the ceiling fan all the way up because since it's been so hot here in Texas, if I'm sitting for, here 2 hours, I gotta have that on, otherwise it's just gonna be way too hot. It's one thing to do a video for 20 minutes, but for 2 hours, it's like, I need that ceiling fan out, so I apologize for the wind sound. But thanks, Shawn. It seems like so far he's been liking the commentary, so thank you for the paid request. And again, if anyone wants to request pretty much any type of video, PayPal is usually the best bet, but the links are in the info box. They're there wherever. But I mentioned Shawn had requested a decent amount of commentaries, and one was for the Back to the Future trilogy. And we're into the last one, part 3. So, pause at the beginning. I have subtitles on, so I don't have to wear the headphones. 3, 2, 1, pressing play. And we have the Universal Pictures logo. This is the one that I always enjoy because it goes through all the different eras from back to the day to what we saw in the 80s to the new one here. I think it will have the 75th anniversary, I believe. Could be wrong, but I want to say the 75th anniversary. There you go. But yeah, Back to the Future Part 3, which came out in 1990. Great year for movies. You had the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You had Jean-Claude Van Damme's Lionheart. You had a lot of personal films I personally like. They may not have been the most popular, but Lou Diamond Phillips was in a film called The First Power. You had, what was it? The Rookie. What? I'm trying to remember. Oh, Die Hard 2. I'm trying to remember if The Rookie was 1990 or was it 91. Not the best with years, but yeah. Die Hard 2, Total Recall. Like I said, the first Ninja Turtles movie. I love The Adventures of Ford Fairlane with Andrew Dice Clay. That was a 1990 film. Love Ford Fairlane. The First Power, Lou Diamond Phillips, Stephen King's Graveyard Shift. I think again, not the best with years, but a lot of fun films during that time period. And of course this came out. Now this, it didn't seem like it made nearly as much money. I wouldn't call it a flop, but it was, it didn't feel or seem like the blockbuster that Back to the Future 2 or 1 were. And while a lot of people do like the film, it felt like it kind of got the lesser, warmer reception compared with the first two. Now, of course, we saw the cliffhanger at Back to the Future Part 2, reintroduced here at the beginning of Part 3. Of course, Back to the Future 2 and 3 were made back to back, where they did Back to the Future Part 2, then they had like a 3-week or so break, then they went into filming Part 3. And lo and behold, there has not been a Back to the Future Part 4. That is thanks to Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale, who put in their contract that no sequel can be made unless they're involved, and they don't want to do any. And I commend them, because I guarantee you, people have driven dump trucks of money, filming money, all sorts of money, to go, please make a Part 4. And they're like, nope, we got money. It's a trilogy, and thank goodness, because that way it wasn't milked to death. Yeah, you had a few things. You had the ride, Universal Studios, which I remember being on that ride when I was a kid. You had a cartoon. I don't think lasted too long. A few video games, but that's pretty much it. And there's been appearances that Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd have done. I think they were on was it Jimmy Fallon? One of those talk shows, and they were together again and stuff of that nature. But again, no one asked for a part four. There's not going to be a part four. You just don't need it. Now, I will admit, as a kid, I really did not like this film. I watch it nowadays. It's fine. What's funny, I got this request, and then a bit of time later, I got a request from someone else to review this film. So you don't see a commentary from Shawn, and then Lucas wanted a review of this. So it's funny how it worked out. So I'll probably watch this, and then since it'll be fresh in my mind, then I'll do the movie review. But like I said, in the scheme of things, when I was a kid, I was not gung ho about this one. I think because as a kid, I did say Back to the Future Part 2 when I was a kid was my favorite because of the future special effects, hoverboard stuff, and the first part of it, and then the story, the alternate 1985. It just felt much more of an adventure, going through all sorts of different time periods, and it felt like it had more action, and action is my favorite genre. Nowadays, I say the first film is my favorite because I think that one had. Part two has a lot of good moments of story, including, and especially the middle portion, the alternate 1985, where Martin McFly finds out his dad died and was murdered and all this stuff. But the first film I thought had most of the heart in a weird way, while part two is more of, again, a fun adventure. This one I always felt was kind of just there. Where again, if I watch this now and as I watch this, just it's been a while since I've seen part three. It's nothing that I hate. It's not bad. It's a it is a nice ending to the trilogy where the characters, everything works out for them, and Doc found happiness and a family. Marty learned some lessons and seems like he's going to be on the right path. But I think it's just the Wild West motif kind of threw me off. Now, granted, they mentioned at the end of part two that it's going to be the Wild West. But even when I was a kid, I was never a fan of the Wild West era. Didn't grow with westerns, unless Young Guns, and I love Young Guns. That's probably the only western I grew up with and enjoyed. Now, as I've grown older, there are westerns I do like. Tombstone, Unforgiven, High Plains Drifter, The Man with No Name trilogy, among others. But Young Guns being my favorite. Rio Bravo, I saw that with John Wayne and Dean Martin. Quite enjoyed that one. But while there are some I like, I wouldn't call it my favorite genre or in my top five favorite genres. Now, what is nice about this is that they give Christopher Lloyd a bit more of a story. His character is given a bit more to partake in. Because in part one and two, Obviously, it's more Marty's story. It's more Marty McFly's story. Sorry. And maybe that's another thing that threw me off on it when I was a kid. Is while I do love Doc Brown and I do love Christopher Lloyd, with the first two, I'm so used to following Marty McFly and Michael J. Fox and number one on the call sheet. And of course, he's in this, but he's not. I know it sounds stupid for me to say he's not the focus, but in a way, he's not. It's all about, it's about Doc. Now, again, on the one hand, that's nice. It gives him more to do. I think as I've grown, I've been like, oh, okay, that's one aspect I liked about it and appreciate about it. But yeah, because I like the first two more, because the stories intrigue me more, the eras, or like the story of the father son going to school together, and the second one with the adventure quality and all the different time periods. Being stuck in the Wild West just was never my favorite. Again, my favorite type of movies. Now, as I'm looking at this, to be fair, Back to the Future Part 3 did well worldwide. It made 244 million worldwide. So it was number 6 in the top 10 hits of 1990. Ghost, Home Alone, Pretty Woman, Dances with Wolves, Total Recall, Back to the Future Part 3, then Die Hard 2, Presumed Innocent, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And then Kindergarten Cop. Now in the US, I think that's where I was basing it on. When I kept thinking of the box office, it did not make the top 10 highest grossing films of 1990 in the US box office. Because I'm looking at this, number 1, Home Alone, number 2, Ghost, 3, Dances with Wolves, 4, Pretty Woman, 5, Ninja Turtles, 6, The Hunt for Red October, 7, Total Recall, 8, Die Hard 2, 9, Dick Tracy, and 10, Kindergarten Cop. I'm like, wow. And Kindergarten Cop made about 90 million, so I'm sitting there, oh, how much money did this film make in the U.S.? And I think that's why I kept thinking of it didn't do as well as people wanted, but it wasn't a flop or anything. Far from it. But worldwide, it definitely made a chunk of change. Now, I want to get some details here as they're breaking into this cave to find a DeLorean that's been buried. So it made 87 million in the U.S. 87 million. How much did the second film make in the U.S.? That was 118 million in the U.S. So it went from 118 million to 87 million. But at the same time, I mean, Universal made a ton of money on this because the budget, it says 40 million, but I don't know if that's 40 million for both movies. It says it was produced on a $40 million budget and filmed back to back, so that makes it seem like, well, that's 40 million for two movies. Because you gotta think back in the day, and let me just check real quick on other stuff. Sorry again, I know I'm lollygagging here, but it's just to get things in perspective. But I'm looking at what was Batman 89, like does it say the budget of that? 48 million, so. Which that's definitely a pretty big film. Let me see. Does it say License to Kill? Like, what was the budget to that? I'll just think if other films came out in '89, like the second film of this. $32 million. Of course, they find the gravestone here. That's where they get a bit of info where at first Dot said he's happy, he's fine, but now it's like, nope, he's ready to die. He doesn't know it yet, so we gotta save him. So it becomes a rescue mission. So again, I wish I could know what the budget was where it says 40 million, but was each one 40 million a piece? I mean, maybe that would make more sense. Maybe both were 40 million. I'll go with that. I mean, it's just they worded differently. On a $40 million budget back to back with part 2. So I'm like, I'm just going to assume it's 40 million. Because I see like Batman cost 48 million, License to Kill cost 32 million. Back to the Future 2 had a lot of special effects and different time periods, so that definitely would have upped the budget a bit. Here, you gotta make a whole Wild West town. Plus, so Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, and Robert Zemeckis and company got at least a bit of a uptake in payday, you would think, after the success of the first one. So, I'm gonna go with that. Like I say, they were very weird. So I'm guessing 40 million apiece. So I haven't uploaded yet, but I did the commentary for Back to the Future Part 2. Again, the way it made it seem like it was 40 million for 2 films, like, oh, but again, don't listen to me back then. Listen to me now. Yeah. Anyway, I know I'm missing a lot of stuff. This is during the filming, the original director Robert Zemeckis asked Michael J. Fox what time period he would like to see, and he replied, the Old West and cowboys. Built the 1885 Hill Valley from scratch. Mary Steenburgen was cast as Clara. Alan Silvestri came back to do the music, which of course Alan Silvestri did the first 2 films. He did Predator, Predator 2, among many others. Came out November 8, 1990. On VHS, okay. Well, when did it come out in theaters? May 1990. So they did make this a summer film. So I didn't. So it cost 40 million, then whatever marketing was, and it made 87 million. I guess probably the studio looked at that and go. But at the same time, worldwide, they probably helped quite a bit. So I wouldn't call it a flop or anything, but 81% on Rotten Tomatoes, so I guess maybe critics like this more than the second film. I don't know, I didn't. Maybe it's just me then. Because I always felt like this one had more of a negative reputation of just like, it's there, or, it is what it is, or that type of thing. Maybe I'm just thinking in my own mind because I kept thinking that. So I just assumed, not that people hate it, but that, it was like, of the trilogy, but again, maybe not. Maybe not, but It is for me. And I guess, thankfully for the upgrades of the DeLorean since the second film, you don't need another bolt of lightning. So thank goodness for that. And how ironic to go into a painting of Native Americans into real Native Americans. Granted, you would think these Native Americans would see a car and be like freaked out and go, "What the hell is that?" Think is like, I don't know, the demon, the devil, something. You think they'd be freaked out or what? But yeah, I'm sure a lot of the people enjoyed making the film because that's what it seemed like for a lot of actors at the time. They wanted to do their own cowboy movie, some way, shape, or form. Whether so, if they get back to the day of John Wayne, Roy Rogers, and even Clint Eastwood, which of course is big reference there, Clint Eastwood. Which we had a reference to that in part two with Biff and Ultra 1985 watching one of the Fistful of Dollars, that one, with the bulletproof vest, which Marty uses later on in this movie. But like I said, back in the day, I just never. Now, how did the arrow get there? Because for the most part, Native Americans were behind him on horses, but this got on the side. Like they're all behind him, so how did one get to the side and shoot right here? Of course, I had to do that, so we have another problem, another thing to fix. I mean, that's the real Michael J. Fox with a real bear behind him. And of course, we're going to get the scene that we have witnessed in the first two films, him being knocked out in some way, shape, or form, and him waking up, only it's not his mom. They do a little twist of, "Who are you?" And of course, we have Michael J. Fox playing another character again, like in the first two. Well, in the first one, he didn't really do it. In the second film, he did. Because it was played his son, played his daughter, played himself older. Who are you? I think that's Leah Thompson, I believe. Are you sure? Yeah, I'm like sure, but at the same time, I've been wrong by about so many other damn things. It's been one of those weeks that I'm surprised I remember my own damn name. To be honest, as my nose itches. I think I've said this before. Like, usually in movies I prefer looking more to the future than the past. Which, granted, I mean, with time travel films, it can work within the story, the sci-fi story, and the characters, but it's like the further in the past you go, the less interested I am. I know, I know. Like I said, within the time travel story to work, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, among others, because I'm just enjoying the characters, the humor, the situations that come across it. And I did here, like the still loving to see Michael J. Fox, still being a fan of his. Casualties of War, The Frighteners, the TV show Spin City, among others. Again, sad what happened to him. Being a fan of Christopher Lloyd, great to see Thomas F. Wilson there, as we'll see him later on. Yeah, not much of water there. And we had a bit of that split screen with the two Michael J. Foxes talking to each other, which had a bit of that in the second film. But like I said, as I'm watching it, again, as a kid, I'm like, I don't care to see. I'll just go rewatch the first two. I get the gist in the third. I don't need to rewatch it. As an adult, it's fine, but something about it just doesn't elevate it more than fine. Again, just the time period. The time period isn't the most intriguing to me. These characters are kind of like whatever. Kind of just there. The jokes feeling a little bit more sitcom like, where, oh, okay, lo and behold, a bear, so they're chased by the bear, or, oh, here's a baby, and the baby pissed on me. That type of stuff. So this is definitely where most of the money on this film was spent on, was this whole thing right here. Which, to be honest, I mean, there's a lot of these type of areas made for the West, the Western movies back in the day, so they didn't really have to build all this, but I guess it's like, well, we got the money, we might as well. Just one of those type of things. I mean, it looks fine, but nothing that amazing. But it looks fine. I think about, like, again, the movie is fine, but like, why I don't love it? I'm gonna be repeating that throughout this. Well, sometimes I just can't put my finger on it. Just like Young Guns, I love from the music and the cast and the, the the action scenes and the great intense feel at times, especially in the finale. Same with Tombstone with Kurt Russell with the shotgun and Hell's Riding With Me. Here's another joke, sitcom. He stepped in poo. So again, it's like, oh, he stepped in poo. Oh, a baby pissed on him. Oh, a bear chases him. Ain't that I mean, it was funny in Back to the Future 1 when, he got shot at. That bit where he goes back to these trips and he's wearing a radiation suit, but people think he's an alien. Because why would, like, they wouldn't know anything about that, or not much. Here, the jokes don't seem as witty or spot on for me. Even like the soundtrack, like the ZZ Top double back. I don't mind ZZ Top. I love their version of Viva Las Vegas, but never really cared about the song. Like I never went back to re-listen to that song. Never. I liked Huey Lewis's songs in the first film, but this I'm like, yeah, whatever. And yeah, maybe I'm alone and thinking, while I don't hate the film, it's okay, but I like the first two more. At the same time, I do feel it's the weakest of the three. I must not have been that alone because when the third film came out, like it made less money than the second film. Now, maybe to contribute to, well, maybe people didn't like the second film as much as I did, so because of that, they were less interested in the third. At the same time, you would think, well, we saw the second film, and whether you liked or disliked it, we gotta see how it concludes. Just out of curiosity, but maybe not, I don't know. Of course, you have Thomas F. Wilson back yet again as Mad Dog, but he don't like being called that. And once again, he's got three henchmen, but because we're back to the day, they're not Billy Zane or Casey Shamasco. We have some different actors here. I think maybe that's what it is, where, yeah, there's heart to this with the Dot Brown romance, but I guess to be perfectly honest, it's more I like the characters, so it's nice they give him more to play with. But if you're telling me that I don't care about his love story, like I never cared to see a Dot Brown love story. Maybe that's another thing. Now he's doing the moonwalk. So like the first film, I just enjoyed the story more. I enjoyed the heart of it more, the comedy of it more. The second film, I did enjoy that story more. I didn't compare to this, and the adventure and all the different time periods, and it just felt very creative. Like to feel the creativity of the Alta 85. And let's go into the first film again, but a different point of view. So we go back to the first film, 1955, but we're seeing events of the first film, and we're seeing what we didn't get to see in the first film, or from a different perspective, which makes it, again, creative. Here, it's just like, okay, they want to play around on the Wild West. Cool. They want to play cowboys for a bit. Cool. Okay, do more story for Doc. Cool. But do I care that he had a love story? No. Christopher Lloyd does a good job. Mary Steenburgen does fine. It just wasn't an enticing plot, and I don't know. Pretty cool looking, kind of really a sniper rifle. I like the design of it because it's using what would have been back in the day, and you can tell Doc had to put a little bit of know-how. Like I said, that's one positive I could say. It's a nice showcase for Christopher Lloyd, and again, gives him more to do. Just like you said, if you looked at the second film, he's more in the beginning of the film. In the middle, he disappears for a bit until he comes back to explain what's going on. But I guess you say with each film, Doc had more and more screen time. He had more and more stuff to do. And I would say the friendship with these two is definitely one of the best parts of this trilogy. Guess I should have paid him. Sorry, I'm not saying that. I'm just kind of looking over the scene. Because, like I said, it's been a while since I've seen this. I do remember there was an ode to this, a cameo in the Seth MacFarlane film A Million Ways to Die in the West, where Seth MacFarlane, like, there's a barn, and then there's the DeLorean, and there's Christopher Lloyd, so I just trying to make it seem like that film was in the same universe as this. Or just, hey, like Family Guy, let's get a reference in there, or we cut to this, and ooh, wow, look. That type of thing, I guess. So again, I apologize that I keep repeating certain stuff, but I think it's just my brain just trying to figure out in the best way possible, with my limited brain cells left, of again why I don't love the film. Even in watching now, I'm like, it's there, but whatever. All that for one kind of ice cube. So again, just the Wild West motif, which unless it's like a very hard hitting, intense one like Clint Eastwood's or Young Guns, I mean, I like Blazing Saddles, and that's a comedic western. That's an interesting bit of direction there, where the camera turns so our characters in the same frame, but using a mirror. So now it's like, well, how do we get the car going? The horses ain't doing it, so that's where we're going to get the train. Because we had to come up with some way why they didn't just leave right away. But yeah, I just, I don't know. Now, pretty much here is just them trying to figure out how to move it fast, and of course, we got the train. We're going to hear that right about now. Sorry about the clear in the throat, just dry air and stuff. And of course, we have Michael J. Fox dressed in fairly like Clint Eastwood in Fistful of Dollars, which, of course, is done on purpose. So I said, again, the story is just kind of there for me. Yeah, Michael J. Fox's character is usually the main focus, pivotal part of it, where, again, he's trapped in time, he's got to get back. Oh, it's about his father. And father and mom didn't love again. Oh, here's, something happened, but his father's dead, and his mom's not in the best shape with Biff. He's got to fix it all. Here, other than getting back home, there's really not much to Marty. I guess other than what was implanted in part two, where he just called chicken and he don't like that. So we do have that culminate. Happens like once or twice, and then it culminates in the final part of the movie. But there's Mary Steenburgen, which she was in the film kind of similar to this, about a guy going through time, called Time After Time. I think, was it Malcolm McDowell going against Jack the Ripper? I think played by David Warner, I believe. Could be wrong on that. And David Warner might have played Jack the Ripper. It's been forever since I've seen that movie, but I think Malcolm McDowell's in it, and that he's a guy that goes back in time and falls in love with this woman and protects her from Jack the Ripper. I believe that was what happened in that movie. But again, like the just these two actors are fine. It's just the love story just wasn't appealing to me. Yeah, I can't tell you why that was the case. But again, the fact that Michael J. Fox's character doesn't really have a whole lot to do, like from here to the end, he doesn't have a whole, other than when he does his Clint Eastwood bulletproof vest thing. He just doesn't have a whole lot to do. He's kind of just there behind the scenes and just doing stuff here and there. And on the one hand, I appreciate doing stuff a bit different, so it's not a carbon copy, so we have Doc take more of the lead. But I just wish there was just more than just, okay, he's in love. It's a love story. I don't know, just something a bit more to it. As what that would be, I don't know. But that's really the big thrust of the story is the love between Dot Brown and this lady. And I don't know, just kind of like, okay. Just wasn't the most invested in it and most intrigued about it. It's not bad. That's the tough thing to verbally say, articulate. That it's not bad. You don't think it's bad at all, but it's just something about it just doesn't click for you. Where it's fine, but no nothing more than that for me, at least. I mean, again, as a comedy, I didn't think it was that funny. As an adventure, I didn't feel that adventurous. So that's it. The first film I thought worked a bit better as a comedy, and the second film worked a bit better as an adventure. This, other than it's nice to see Christopher Lloyd have a bit more to play with. Then what? So now Doc Brown realizes that Mary Steenburgen was supposed to die. And he's tired of changing history and he wishes he never made that time machine. Of course, that's a little bit of callback to Back to the Future 2, where they had walkie-talkies. That's why, well, how do they have walkie-talkies? Well, they had them in part 2. In fact, they were talking to each other walkie-talkies when Doc went back in time at the end of that movie. Like I said, as a kid, like I would watch the second film more, and then like the first and second, and like this, like once in a blue moon, I would pop in and be like, and I think even as a kid, I would maybe fast forward through it until I watched like the ending and get the gist yet again of the finale of the trilogy, and then go on from there. I think maybe it's like the train section of the movie, the train part at the finale. I remember not minding that and being back in the present time and seeing how our character's journey ends for both of these guys. I would say that's my favorite part of the movie. course, this is a little bit of a reminds me a bit of when they did this bottle stuff in the first movie. But then the car went and it caught on fire, and Doc Brown's like, ah, and gets a fire extinguisher onto it. And then just like with when Leia Thompson came by in the first movie, they had to hide the car. Here, gotta hide the car again, this time from Mary Steenburgen. And listen, I do like Christopher Lloyd. I mean, he was the main bad guy in Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. He was in Buckaroo Banzai, The Dream Team with Michael Keaton. He was in that film Nobody with Bob Odenkirk. That was a fun film. Suburban Commando, I even liked him in that. I was frozen today. And you can tell he still loves the character. I mean, pretty much anytime there's like a little reunion thing or like a moment where his character is showcased, he'll pop in. Then he'll work pretty much the star of that ride that they did at Universal Studios, and at the end the little bits he's done with Michael J. Fox where they kind of play the two characters at award shows or other stuff, talk shows. And what was it? I mentioned that Seth MacFarlane movie he was in. But yeah, just the backdrop. At times it still looks like a movie set. Honestly, some of this Hill Valley stuff, like some of the other buildings, sometimes it does look like just a movie set. And makes you go, well, why didn't they just use one of those Old West sets instead of building their own? I guess like this part, okay, the clock tower in connection with the first two films. But they could take the town and build that section there. Would have saved them a bit of money. Now that there was the real Dean Cundy behind the camera. I believe that's who it is, and of course Dean Cundy did the director of photography in the previous films. He worked a lot with John Carpenter. A lot of John Carpenter films, Dean Cundy. I think he even worked with Steven Spielberg at times, and definitely he's definitely one of the more famous DPs, director photographers. Photography, I should say. Yeah, this music here with the I didn't really care about this type of music. Do 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 do. It's like we're 3 seconds away from Hee Haw, which I did remember seeing Hee Haw back in the day, and I didn't like it. But like people I knew would want to watch. I'm like, I don't want to watch this shit. I'm not a fan of that country bumpkin shit. Little House in the Prairie. Kiss my ass. I would hate being in this era. That's why I don't understand, like, people romanticize. That's another thing I don't understand. People romanticizing the Wild West and, oh, I would love to be back there. I'm like, it sounds mean, but part of me is like, is your fucking head loose and needs to be screwed tighter? Are you fucking shitting me? Why in the ever blue hell would you ever want to be in the Wild West? Oh, here's the yella. Not chicken, yella. This is one of the, what, few times in this movie where that's brought up. Now, of course, this is also a reminder of the video game he played in Back to the Future Part 2. This is one of the few lines I remember liking. Like, where'd you learn to shoot like that? Does it say like 7-Eleven? I did like that line. But again, oh, and here we have, there we go, James Tolkien, who of course was in the first two Back to the Future films as Principal Strickland, and he was in the Dolph Lundgren Masters of the Universe, the He-Man film by Canon Films in the late 80s. He played a cop, a detective in that. He was in Top Gun. So, playing a different character, well, ancestor, however you want to put, but predecessor. I'm sure these actors loved it because they didn't be a cowboy and all that stuff and play a different type of character, so there's more room for them to play with stuff as an actor. Even Thomas F. Wilson, he's still being a bully, but they're definitely a different side compared to the others. I just like don't care about this hold down dancing stuff. It's like, and the music. Maybe that's another thing too. Is that I can only speak for myself. When you watch the second film and you see how that felt like a summer blockbuster, where it's like the future and special effects and flying cars and weird costumes and holograms of Jaws, what's going on, and then all this topsy turvy stuff going in, all these different timelines, and then you have this one, and it feels like that grand scale just went, shh, and it's like we're in a town where it feels like we only see a couple buildings. It's like we have this area here, we have the bit where the car is at, we have the saloon. So it feels much more, just much less grand, and it feels like just a few locations. I think that is ZZ Top playing as the band. Which I guess would make sense. I mean, if you don't have a band, why not get an actual band to play the band? So a moment of Michael J. Fox's character to shine. Throw the frisbee and get the gun out of his hand. This is where the big moment of Yella comes into play here. He would just walk away and all this stuff, but... And this is where the other Michael J. Fox says, what are you doing? Like, why do that? Which I guess you say is the big arc. Which... I remember thinking that arc seemed a bit weird going from part 2 to here. But I had the idea why they did it, but... Because they didn't know it'd be a trilogy at first. But I guess it's just one of those scenes of... We never really saw him do any of that in the first movie. About... being called a chicken or a coward or yellow, and he gets really uptight about it. Like I said, I mean, they just didn't think of it, and they figured, well, we're doing this, what can we do for Marty McFly? Well, we'll do this stuff here, give him a bit of a character arc, something to accomplish partially by the end of the trilogy, so... It's funny, I mean... I know... I can't help it. The other Michael J. Fox, I swear at times he looks a bit like Eric Stoltz, which is kind of funny since Eric Stoltz was supposed to be Marty McFly in the first film, but then they shot for a bunch of weeks and he got fired. Granted, it's probably just me just putting that into play there. I would guarantee it wasn't done on purpose, but just made me think of it for a bit. I mean, Thomas F. Wilson is definitely fun as these different types of cannons. We'll be gone by then, remember? Well, I mean, if he's dead, he's not going to care one way or another. And this is where he gets a little piece of advice. So definitely a bit of words that hit close to home. Which Michael J. Fox did a nice job acting there, where his eyes kind of like, oh, whatever, and then he kind of stops, and then his last look is like a puppy dog. Hurt puppy dog, like... But I guess, like, we're an hour and 3 minutes in, and really all other than going back in time, Marty made Mad Dog mad. Doc fell in love. You had the Native American chase with the car. You had him almost getting hung. You had that hold down dance thing. Saving Mary Steenburgen. It's pretty much it. I mean, maybe it was one of those things where they went very big, special effects heavy, blockbuster status in part two. So they felt in this one they were going back to the lesser, more smaller scale format of the first movie. I can understand that, but at the same time, it just. I think it threw a couple people off, at least me, and if you're not into. Like, you just like and enjoy the Doc Brown character and still not give a crap who he falls in love with, if that makes sense. I mean, trying to think of trying to think of a action movie franchise like Rambo. Maybe there's a little bit of something that could have happened in Rambo 2, but it's not these long, extensive scenes of this romance. It's like, don't really need the whole lot of that stuff. Oh, here's the humor here is that he's got the pajamas, so you see a little bit of his butt. That's what I mean. For the most part, the humor just seemed very obvious and kind of get sitcom type. It does a little bit. Taxi Driver, of course, because seems like everybody, if you had a gun and a mirror, you try to do the Taxi Driver thing. I guess it depends if you want to see a lovesick Dot Brown. That's up to you, like how you feel about that. It vanished, as in maybe someone dies. Just won't maybe won't be me. Of course, here Marty realizes that he's being measured for a coffin. Of course, a little switch around where he says "Great Scott" and Dot Brown says "This is heavy." like for those who are big hardcore fans of the film, I'm sorry that I don't like the film more. Again, I don't hate the film, but it's just kind of one of those. It's okay. Like I'm going to do the commentary, then I'm going to stop and do the review. Unless it's some paid request for I don't know what else it could be, or a commentary live stream with someone or something of that nature. Me and someone else do a commentary on a live stream, whatever it takes. I will probably I will probably never see the film again. This one. Because I know the ending. I could watch the first two and then know the ending in my head and then go on from there. But as a film, as a piece of entertainment, or it's just, to be honest, I find the film kind of boring, to be honest. The actors of Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd are good. I like the characters. As a sequel, it does not do anything to ruin the first two films or be like a hypocritical state of affairs where it makes it so that the first two films didn't exist or didn't matter or destroy their legacy or their story. Light sequels a la Alien 3, Star Wars The Last Jedi, or even The Force Awakens, Terminator Dark Fate, Terminator Genesis, all that other stuff. So, it is a harmless sequel. Again, it's nice to see the cast. I can appreciate the giving Doc a bit more to his character. Granted, I'm not that invested in the love story, but it's nice that he's given a bit more to play with. He's able to utilize more of his acting, have a bit more of a range. It's nice to see. Oh, but I didn't follow through on my thought before of being confused why people romanticize the Wild West and why, as in the fact of, oh, I wish I could go back there and I wish I could live there and I wish I could. I'm sitting there, why? Just think about it. You live in an era where there's not electricity, there's no video games, there's no movies, there's no internet, there's no, stuff we take for granted. You have to be on the lookout for people coming out of the woodwork to rob you, to shoot you, to do other things to you. Because while that does happen today, don't get me wrong, but there's more of a police protection unit compared to back then. And just like the down and dirty stuff of just going to the bathroom and this outhouse you have to use and like all this other stuff you have to do and dig and how hard it is just to get water. Make sure you have a well. Get the pail out of the well. And is that just turn the faucet, you go in and you soak in? Like the common everyday convenience that we take for granted, a lot of that was not around back then. And like if you're in a bar, you look at someone funny and then they want to shoot you, or something else to that effect. So it just, like I said, outside there's no motels or other sort, so you sleep on the ground where there'd be rattlesnakes and scorpions and all sorts of stuff. So. That's what you get for telling the woman the truth. That's what you get for telling women the truth. A big old slap to the face. So yeah, I'm. Oh, this is where he gets drunk and he's so out of it that Michael J. Fox is like trying to get him sober, but yeah, we gotta find a way to have Michael J. Fox there for the showdown. Is that Richard? I know it said Richard Dysart was in the cast. Is that him back there with that stick or whatever in his hand? Yeah, I think that is him with the glasses, I believe. Yeah, I think that is him on the left here, beside Lloyd. Richard Dysart, he was in John Carpenter's The Thing. He was the doctor who got the paddles and but then got his arms bitten off by the Thing. He was the doctor of the group in John Carpenter's The Thing. So, yep, that is Richard Dysart. So, and that was another Universal film. I'm sure Michael J. Fox is confused as to what the hell's going on here. Like, where's Doc? I mean, a bit of a selfish thing for Doc to do because he knows that if Michael J. Fox goes into town, there's going to be this whole gunfight thing and be in danger. So Doc knows that. He knows that Marty needs to be there to, get him home at least, if you don't want to go home. What about him and getting him home? Just something to say, maybe, once we'll have a right to be selfish, so it gives him a bit of a, flawed character, like we all are flawed characters. But see what I mean? It seems like we're only in just a few locations. Again, like we have that barn there, we got the saloon, bits of the outside. So as dumb as it sounds, it feels at times like the cheapest of the three. I know that's a stupid notion, but just a few scant locations and all sorts of other stuff, it just... Big mistake. That's a pretty good stunt, going right through the table there. I do like this guy who's the bartender. I know I have seen him in other stuff. I cannot remember his name. But this little bit where he's making his own wake up recipe. Then wakes him up a bit, at least for a little bit. Like even this here kind of seemed like a something like a you having a sitcom type of thing. So I guess the humor in this just didn't take to me like the stuff in the first two. I mean, yeah, you could argue that maybe the sitcom stuff and then the first two. I can understand that, but just felt like even more so in this. I don't know. Just overall, just not that interesting of a movie to me. A bit fly. I think coming up is like another moment. I do remember having a bit of fun with is like there's this pause. You don't be a chicken, you don't be yellow, and he's like, he's an asshole. Just something about that. I think I remember not minding that line reading as well from Michael. But yeah, I'm sure for a bit of time, Universal was like, okay, you don't want to do a Back to the Future 4, that's fine, because the third one, again, if it cost 40 million and it made 80 some million in the US, maybe that kind of gives you a taste of diminishing returns. But again, it did make money worldwide. But I'm sure after, I don't know, a few more years, maybe even 10 years after, it's like, hey, did you do a part 4? Nah. Okay. Please? No. Now this is getting more into the whole being called a coward and yellow type of thing. Oh. Now this is what's coming up in a little bit where you think he's about to do it, but then he's like, he's an asshole. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I did like that moment. Hey, it's what they say. A hero is just a sandwich. You be a hero all you want, but if you're dead, ain't gonna matter to you personally. Like you can be brave all you want, but brave ain't bulletproof. Of course, we saw that bit of the stove fall apart, so we'll give you a clue to the audience as to what's to come about that. How convenient, thankfully, Richard Dysart sits right behind Mary Steenburgen, and they're in the same place, same time, same train. Now, of course, this is going to be not because he of his pride, but because he wants to help out a friend. We have about 32 minutes left in the film. I mean, we got the end credits. We have the bit with Michael J. Fox getting together with Elizabeth Shue. You have the whole thing with Needles, which I think is Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers, and that whole finale to that bit of the story. Then, of course, you have the big train heist thing. Of course, that'll be after this, where I can't remember what movie it was where. Oh, Dumb and Dumber. That's what it was. Where Jeff Daniels literally gets shot. He's like, "Yeah, bulletproof vest." And Jim Carrey's like, what if he shot you in the face?" Yeah, what if he shot me in the face? That was a chance we were willing to take. Again, this is a. It is interesting if you watch these films back to back, all the little teases they make in the second film to lead up to this one, which is a positive element of shooting these films back to back and writing them back to back, is to put stuff that will pay off later, like watching the one of the Man with No Name films to this right here. There you go. Well, thank God that thing's bulletproof. There you go. Hey, just like the late great Johnny Witherspoon said, you win some, you lose some. If you live to fight another day. You know, these from the movie Friday. And of course, always gotta be manure. And the skateboard chase in the first film, the hoverboard get into the flying DeLorean and crash Biff crash into in the second film, and then right here, right into the third one. Knocked right the hell out. Yeah, ride like the Dickens. Again, like Michael J. Fox playing the other character, it's not like he did a bad job, but I didn't think he was noteworthy either. I don't hear people talking about Back to the Future go, "Oh yeah, that one other character, Martin, Michael J. Fox played with the mustache and the bowler hat. Yeah, I remember that character so much." It's like it worked whatever it needed to be for the film, but there you go. So now we get to the train heist in order to take control in order to get in front of the DeLorean and get it to 88 miles per hour. Good stunt work. One thing I'll say, yeah, very good stunt work during this scene. And that's just, like right there, just a guy jumping off to a train, very dangerous stuff. And the thing is, nowadays, a lot of this would just be done with CGIs. Maybe a CGI horse, or if not, then the backdrop would be like there'd be a lot of CG elements surrounding it that would make it much more artificial looking. Well, here you see it's a real life train that there's real life people go on the top of it, and you have a camera that's able to pan and showcase it and showcase the scope of it. And it looks like the actors are really on a train and really going through all this stuff. And then you have the stunt people and the helicopter shots. And good stunt work by these guys in these helicopter shots. Well, yeah, I think these people was like, well, they didn't take our money and they didn't take most of the supplies, so can't be too mad about it. They let us live. They didn't really want most of our supply. They didn't want our money. They're probably more confused than anything. Those theaters back there, like what the hell did they want? Like they said, experiment. It is a really wild notion later on, though, that Doc, took this train and made it a time machine. And I'm like, okay. Granted, it shows a bit of time has passed because Dot has two kids. So it definitely, at least they showcase number one, he's got a family, and number two, this took quite a bit of a long time to accomplish. I'm just wondering where the hell he got the parts to make a damn time machine in 1885, or I don't know, probably 19 something by the time, whatever age those kids were. But those kids was it Jules and Vern, the two kids? Those were featured in the cartoon. Does I remember in the Back to the Future cartoon, they used the railroad time machine vehicle in that animated series that Christopher Lloyd came back to voice Doc Brown. I think he was the only one. Don't quote me on that though, because I haven't seen that cartoon since I was a little kid. And probably only saw like one or two episodes, so. Again, some good stunt work there. Nice shots by Dean Cundy showing the train and the DeLorean in front and then the same frame. All that jazz. But yeah, I would say this is probably my favorite part of the movie, this whole sequence. Well put together. Can you imagine though if this decided to have like the more tragic ending, like what was that episode of Star Trek? Was it City on the Edge of Forever? Where Captain Kirk saved the woman who was not supposed to die and he fell in love with her, but then sadly at the end she did die, and McCoy and stuff are stopping Kirk saying this is what it had to be. Can you imagine it's like, okay, Dot, he's gonna go back in time, and there's Barry Steenburgen. I love you. I believe in you. Either he doesn't notice or whatever the case, and then she dies, and it's like, well, she was meant to die, so history hasn't been changed much. I'm not saying that's the ending I wanted, and of course, this is Back to the Future. It's not going to have that type of sad, tragic ending. I'm just saying, if it was like a different, more pretentious franchise, you could see they would try to put that ending into there. Even Michael J. Fox, even Martin McFly's tired of Clara. This is where Doc has to make a choice. And of course, the choice is clear: is to save this lady. And coming up, we're going to see one more final appearance of the hoverboard. And we had that in this previous film, so have well, at least one more important usage in a little bit. There she blows, getting ready to blow. Blow a damn gasket. There you go. Boom shakalaka. Boom, there it is. Yeah. Boom, there it is. Oh shit. Damn car's not even on the damn track anymore. There you go. I guess in essence makes sense. I mean, number one, utilizes to save Doc and Clara, but another thing from the future that you can't take back because can you imagine them just using this willy nilly and people are of course going to notice and they're going to go, "What the hell is that?" And then the DeLorean gets destroyed, so pretty much no evidence, no trinkets, anything that showed he went to the future, any of the sort. All the evidence is gone. There you go. And that looks really cool, man. The train on fire coming across and kablamo. Nice big massive explosion there. Which is funny because the day I'm recording this, well, it's no longer the 4th of July, but it was the 4th of July, you know, with these type of fireworks here. Eastwood Ravine. Interesting. Just the idea is that somehow they heard that Clint Eastwood died here, and so they named a ravine after. Well, yeah, didn't they say the Clara? They named a ravine after her. I believe they said that earlier. And then Doc Brown said, "Oh my God, I changed history." I guess the conductors or stuff told the story and said it was Clint. Oh, there you go. God, I remember that being a bummer, seeing the DeLorean get destroyed. Because such, you know, it's maybe not the practical car in real life with the doors and stuff, but still such a cool looking car, and it's classic, iconic bit. I guess it's almost a Zemeckis to them going, "Nope, this is the end. This is the final bit of the trilogy. No more DeLorean. We destroyed the stuff, so don't tell us, you know, bring it back. Can't. You see, it's all in pieces right there." flux capacitor, all that stuff is gone. You got your wish. Now, of course, this is a take on, well, I mean, the ending of the first one with this is how Biff was. And there's Mark McClure, the from Jimmy Olsen from the Superman films, and non-Crispin Glover back there, Leah Thompson. Of course, there's a reason why the dad is back there with big sunglasses. I wonder if that's the same actor they had in part 2, where Crispin Glover did the whole suing thing. I just, because that was like such a brief bit, it's like, oh, you didn't have an issue with that. But hey, using the prosthetics, and I think it was more of the character seemed like a goof because he was upside down and his hair kept falling to his face, and I think Crispin Glover thought that was a knock against him and like making fun of him, and I think he got butthurt about it, so he said, oh, they used my prosthetics, and found a technicality and got some money out of it. But I mean, then he would say, oh yeah, people would think that I played that character. I'm like, well, that's their fault. Number one, just look at the credits. It doesn't say your name. You were not advertised in it. No one ever said starring Crispin Glover and for Back to the Future 2. So that's their fault. The viewer who would think that. Well, Marty finally gets to drive this truck that we saw at the end of the first movie. The end, the original actress Claudia Wells, I believe, was dealing with her sick mother. She had cancer, so she couldn't do the film, so they had Elizabeth Shue. And here were the needles. And yeah, I think that's Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers, I believe. Which I always remember, I think he had a bit in Son-in-Law, the tattoo guy. You pick it, and I stick it. Now, of course, this is a reference to Back to the Future 2 and this bit, that car accident that screwed up his hand and ruined his guitar playing and started the downfall of his life. This whole bit here. But he did learn a thing or two, and there you go. Yeah, you realize Elizabeth Shue did really have much to do in these films. I mean, she was in Adventures in Babysitting, Hollow Man, but she's probably most famous for being in these sequels, and then when you look back on it, she didn't really have much to do. Just be knocked out, scared, pass out, put on a patio, whatever you swinging bench, and this bit here, so. But hey, it's a job. Well, thank God he came at this right moment, this right time where these two people happened to be there. But how would he know Marty McFly and then would be right here at this right moment, this right time? Because remember, Marty left and found Elizabeth Shue and did the whole thing with the car and coming back here. Do you imagine if Lloyd, Dot got here is like, well, nobody's here. Damn. And then what? Stay there until hope he comes back. Stay here and don't let anyone take this, railroad time machine. Let me go find Marty. So there's Jules and Vern. But again, I do like this last section of the movie because, like I said, it's a nice ending to the characters. And how many times can we say that with characters that we enjoy? They get nice, good endings. Ellen Ripley and Aliens? No. Her, Hicks, Newt, they all die in Alien 3. Captain Kirk? No. He just killed, falling off a damn scaffold, whatever. And someone he barely knows, Picard, buries him. And he dies with his friends not around him. Spock? No. You take in the J.J. Abrams films, goes back in time and, to attempt to save and then dies alone. The list goes on. But there you go there. And it says the end. And there you go. The end of the Back to the Future films. More than likely, we will not be seeing any Back to the Future Part 4. And that would be for good reason. Because one's not really needed. Yeah, it was Flea. There you go. Flea there. But yeah, that's Back to the Future Part 3. Watch it again. It's fine. It's okay. But I'm not gung-ho about the story. I'm not gung-ho about the Wild West backdrop. For a 2-hour running time, it felt a bit tedious at times. It felt a bit boring at times. It's great that Doc, the character, has more given to him, but and him and Mary Steenburgen are not bad, but I can't say I really cared about his love life, his love story. The sets of Hill Valley, I don't think looked as impressive as some people say it is. It did look cheap. It did look like Hollywood sets, honestly. It felt like there was only a couple places, that's it. Michael J. Fox doesn't really have a whole lot to do because he's not. I mean, other than the showdown, and but at the same time, it's like. So I mean, there is a focus on him, but at the same time, it didn't feel as prevalent for me compared to the others, and I don't know, I just. Even the song by ZZ Top, I'm not big on. Was never a fan of this song. Like I say, it is what it is. I much prefer the first two. Do I think this is a bad movie? No. At least it ended the characters with respect. I can appreciate that. But, as is, you know, unless it's some kind of paid request that for another review, which I mean, there will be a review coming, but like another review after that, or stream or something, I'll probably never see the film again. With that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Thanks once again, Shawn. Take care. Bye-bye.